Thank you so much for tuning in. This is attorney Matt Wayman here today to chat with you about what happens during a criminal trial. Prior to the start of a trial, the attorneys will argue what is called pre-trial motions. This is so that when the trial starts, they know what is going to come in and what is not going to come in. After the pre-trial motions, they move on to voir dire. That is where the jury panel is brought in, and the attorneys will question the jury panel. All of the questioning done by each side is for one goal, to be able to get a fair and unbiased jury. You will hear the words fair and impartial thousands of times because the attorneys need to know with absolute certainty that if that person is going to sit on that jury, that they can be fair and impartial. After voir dire, the parties move on to opening statements. In a criminal trial in the state of Missouri, the state must make an opening statement. The defendant is allowed to make an opening statement or may reserve their opening statement until their case in chief. After opening statements, the state will put on their case in chief. That is where they will put on witnesses and testimony to fulfill all of the elements of the crimes that they have charged against the defendant. After the state's case in chief, the defendant is allowed to put on their case in chief. This can consist of surveillance footage, any witnesses, experts, medical records, anything the defense wants to use to support their theory of the case can be set forth in their case in chief. After the state and defense put on their case in chief, you move on to closing statements. This is where attorneys for the parties argue as to why you should return a verdict in their party's favor. This is argument. It is not to be considered evidence. The attorney for the state will argue as to why that person should be found guilty of all the charged crimes, and the defense attorney will argue as to why the jury should return a verdict of not guilty as to all charges. After that, the jury will go back to deliberate. After the deliberations are complete, the jury comes back and the verdict is read. If there is a guilty verdict or a non-guilty verdict, sometimes the jury is polled, and then the parties will move on to post-trial motions. This is everything that generally happens during the course of a criminal trial. I hope this video has been helpful to give you just a brief overview on what does happen during a criminal trial. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out directly. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. We're going to be back soon with more videos.